Hello everyone, my name is Chloe and the title of our presentation today is Bacillus and Oil Painting. So here is our content. There is a total of 4 parts. The first part is an overview of the introduction. Second, we will describe the morphology of the bacillus. Third, we will discuss how bacillus is associated with oil painting. And lastly, how can it impact our planet and us ourselves. So here is an introduction of the topic. Let's take a look at some of the famous oil paintings. We have two, The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh and the second one, Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. Now let's talk about the history of oil painting. It all started in the 7th century when someone extracted oil from poppies and walnut and mixed it with paint. It started becoming a painting medium in Europe in the 11th century and became famous in the 15th century, which is the Renaissance period. After a time, oil painting will start to deteriorate, and to prevent the deterioration process, conservators will restore the oil paintings using these 4 steps. The first step is removing the surface dirt like dust, soot, and smoke from the painting. Then they will replace and remove the old varnish, which are yellowish in color, into a clear varnish. Then they will replace or restore the missing section of paint or pigment that has been lost. Lastly, they will restore the painting damage, like maybe the tears and holes of a canvas. However, this all changes. In 2018, a study by Elisabetta and her team shows that there is an ecosystem of microorganisms in oil paintings, and the painting that they researched is called Incoronazione della Vergine by Carlo Bononi. In their findings, they found out that there is a complex chemistry in the oil paintings. Like in the blue and green pigments, they found copper oxide, lead and tin in the white and bright yellow pigments, and iron oxide in the red, browns, and yellow pigments. So they also found that there is a thriving ecosystem on the canvas, like mold species, Aspergillus and Penicillium in the pigments, and also bacteria like Staphylococcus and Bacillus. So why do we choose Bacillus when there is plenty of microorganisms residing in the oil painting? It is because Bacillus can actually protect and also harm the painting. So detergents containing Bacillus can prevent bacteria and fungi to grow. However, some types of Bacillus actually feed on the glue and paste of the oil painting, therefore damaging it. Now I will leave it to Katie to describe the morphology of Bacillus.
Thank you, Chloe. Hi everyone, my name is Katie and I'll be continuing the second part of our presentation, the descriptions for Bacillus. Firstly, before we go into the details of Bacillus, let's talk about the taxonomy. Bacillus is one of the most widely known bacteria and it falls into the phylum Firmicutes. Now from this simplified table, as you can see here, the class of Bacillus would be Bacilli, and the order would be Bacillus, and the family would be Bacilliaceae. And after the rank of family, we will have genus, which is where the name Bacillus stands. Now, after the rank of genus, we would normally have species, but I'm not going to name all of the species here because there are hundreds of them. So a few examples could include Bacillus cereus or Bacillus pumilus. Now, moving on to the characteristics of Bacillus. Firstly, Bacillus is a genus of gram-positive, but in some species culture, they may turn gram-negative with age. And secondly, it is a rod-shaped bacteria with 266 named species, and the term Bacillus is also often used to describe the shaped rod of a certain bacteria. And thirdly, Bacillus species can either be obligate aerobes, which are dependent on oxygen, or facultative anaerobes, which can survive in the absence of oxygen. Bacillus species can also form dormant spores under adverse environmental conditions. These endospores may remain viable for long periods of time, and they are resistant to heat, cold, radiation, desiccation, chemicals, or even sunlight, and they are widely distributed in nature, primarily in soil. However, some types of Bacillus bacteria are harmful to humans, plants, or other organisms. For example, Bacillus cereus can sometimes cause spoilage in those canned food and leading to short duration of food poisoning. The best conditions for Bacillus species to live in and also grow in is around 25 to 35 degrees Celsius and also between pH 5 to 8. Lastly, since Bacillus species are widely distributed in nature, they often play a role in replenishing the soil nutrients by supplying the terrestrial carbon cycle and also the nitrogen cycle. And that's the end of my part. Now I'll pass on to Nuha and Wenxuan to explain how this interesting bacteria is associated with oil paintings.
Guys, this is Nuha, and I'll be continuing the third part of our presentation, which is the association of Bacillus. There were 3 strains of degrading bacteria that were found on the paintings. These strains were of Bacillus subtilis, of strain 1, NAP1, 2, and 4. Paintings contain a wide range of organic and inorganic compounds, which the microorganisms can use for their growth. Linseed oil of the paint layer is it's very degradable. There are other spectrum of compounds that might provide nutrition for the bacillus, which can be dirt, dust, and other environmental contaminants. Degrading mechanism of bacteria occurs after its successful colonization. They produce toxic metabolic products, which include enzymes. These enzymes increase the loss of material. The ENGAs are the main type of enzymes that are linked with deterioration. The target of these enzymes is to adhere the bacterial cell wall to the paint layer. Some bacteria eat the compounds that the pigments are made with, for example, copper oxides in blues and greens, lead and tin in white and bright yellows, red lac in red paint, and some bacteria also feed on the paste and glue that are used on the backside of the canvas.
Thank you, Noha. And now I'm going to tell how Bacillus protect oil paintings. Bacillus active as surface sanitizing agent against most types of mycetes and bacteria. The presence of Bacillus almost totally inhibited the development of all the tested microbiomes isolated from the oil paintings. They also allowed mineralizations of some of the recalcitrant pollutants into carbon dioxide and water. Detergents that containing spores of harmless Bacillus bacteria can counteract the growth of pathogens on the oil paintings. Now, I'm going to explain an experiment to investigate the potential microbial activities of the Bacillus. First, bacteria and molds from the oil painting were seeded on selective agar. There are 3 types of Bacillus present: Bacillus subtilis, Bacillus megatherium, and Bacillus pulmonis. The growth of 3 types of Bacillus was checked after 1, 3, and 7 days. The result shows that indicated that the presence of Bacillus almost totally inhibited the development of all the tested microbiomes isolated from the painting.
Thank you. My name is Julie, and now I will talk about the impact of Bacillus on our life and ecosystem. Did you know that different Bacillus have different impact on our ecosystem? So now I will introduce about the impact of changes on human and planet of Bacillus. So Some research show that Bacillus subtilis, Bacillus pumilus, and Bacillus megatherium will prevent the degradations of oil painting by the forbidden other organisms to eat the pigments of valuable historical oil painting, which is positive for humans. So the three types of Bacillus were previously shown that they could be able to counteract the growth of many other types of environmental microorganisms, and these observations suggest a non-specific inhibitory action of Bacillus, which mostly due to the competitive antagonisms as already observed in other environments. And so the results suggest that the specific three Bacillus type will counteract with the growth of contaminating microorganisms that's potentially damage the artwork, and this could provide the novel solution to prevent biodegradations of painting and artwork in general. So we could preserve the valuable historical artwork. So there are some research that show the positive impact on our planet, which are due to the Bacillus parabiosis. So the Bacillus parabiosis will degrade the oil-based paint and related waste that bring positive effects for the humans. The indigenous environments that's polluted with hazardous hydrocarbon like oil-based paint are the target sources for isolations of this bacteria. So in the recent study, Bacillus parabiosis was successfully isolated and characterized as an oil-based paint degrading strain that could tolerate the oil-based paint concentration. So it has the potential for oil-based paint degradations, and it can be used to treat other hazardous hydrocarbons polluted ecosystem too. And this parabiosis will utilize the oil-based paint as the sole sources for carbon and energy, and they can render them into non-toxic without being add some more nutrients. So this type of Bacillus is new in terms of isolations and bioremediations with fewer harmful effects towards other microbial community, and it will interact with the soil microbes to effectively degrade the oil-based paint and related waste that may be helpful to elevate the future soil improvement, and it will have the further application to improve the soil. So that's the end of our book presentations. Thanks for watching.